You're green. I am.
Jon, hi, I'm
Hi.
Lucy. Welcome to The Love of Cinema. This is the Picturehouse podcast.
Great.
Wicked had its London premiere last night, which in some ways must feel like a bit of a homecoming for you, having
Absolutely.
made so much of the film here. How is it to be back?
It's great. What do they say? There's no place like home. It was great to be with cast and crew who built this thing, all the hundreds and thousands of hands that built Emerald City and Munchkinland. And it's my first premiere, actually, because I had to skip all the other ones because I just had a baby. So this felt really nice to be here to share our little secret that we've been making for 3 years now.
Yeah, congratulations on both counts.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So, Wicked,
Yeah.
based on the novel by Gregory Maguire, is just one of the most successful Broadway musicals of all time. Expanded worldwide. It's been running in London for 18 years on the West End, so, you know, it's a voting adult.
Yeah.
Just in case there's one person out there who's not familiar with Wicked, could you give us a bit of a summary of the premise and what the story is about?
Yeah, I mean, it's the secret, untold story of the Wicked Witch of the West. So if you know The Wizard of Oz, the villain in there is the Wicked Witch of the West, and this is kind of, was she actually wicked? I think the big question is, are you born wicked, or is wickedness thrust upon you, as they say? So we explore that in her friendship with Glinda the Good. They actually were friends at Shiz University, and what happens in that relationship that makes it all fall apart.
Together we're unlimited.
She had her secrets. Absolutely remarkable.
So I saw Wicked for the first time when I was 10 here in
Yes.
London, and it sparked just a lifelong love of musical theatre. I'm sure
yes.
that's the case for so many people.
Yes, me included.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's your relationship with the musical? I know you were a fan before you were attached to the project.
Yeah, I've been waiting for this movie for 20 years, waiting for someone to make it. I saw Wicked before it ever reached Broadway, actually, when it was being workshopped in San Francisco. I was a film student at the time.
wow.
I grew up in the Bay Area, so my mom invited me to see the new Stephen Schwartz musical based around the Wizard of Oz, and I remember being blown away when I was there. I remember thinking, wow, this is such a new way to see that story that we all know, that the Yellow Brick Road may not be as perfect as we think, and the wizard behind the curtain may not have may not be giving us our heart's desire. So I loved that sort of subversive look at this story.
So let's talk about you and your filmography, all your work leading up to this, because it really does feel to me like every step of your career so far has been a kind of building block to make this project what it is. I mean, you start with, your debut is in dance and movement
Yes.
with the Step Up films.
Yes, yes.
You work with huge stars for G.I. Joe and for Now You See Me Too.
Yep.
And then, of course, your most recent films, Crazy Rich Asians and In the Heights, which are these really amazing, colourful, joyous experiences, but also have this kind of interrogation of like the American dream, I guess, much in the same way as Wicked. So how did you come on board? At what stage were you having these conversations about this film?
Well, I feel very lucky to have basically grown up in front of the public eye through my movies. It's been a good almost 20 years of work. And I love that I got to start in the step-up world and meet all these dancers and learn how to shoot dance and movement, and going into Justin Bieber's world and traveling with him and seeing what it's like to be at that level of fame and examine that. So it all it definitely built all the way up to this through the action movies of G.I. Joe with The Rock and Bruce Willis. So, but I remember when I did Crazy Rich Asians, like everything changed for me in terms of what I want to put out in the world. I felt like I didn't have to prove myself to anyone anymore. I had learned how to move the levers of Hollywood, and then the bigger question was, okay, Jon, what do you want to say? And I started having kids around the Crazy Rich Asians. Now this is my 5th, which I just had a few days ago. So to me, it is about how do you set the story for the next generation? There was a story that was set for me, and it was really helpful in my younger years. But as I grew older, I realized it wasn't as perfect as I thought it was, and we're all sort of growing up with the realization of who's the storyteller, who's telling us what a villain should look like, what beauty is, what a hero should look like, and so it feels very urgent to tell these kind of stories. And for Wicked, it was during the pandemic where I got the call, and it was those words from Elphaba where she says, "Something has changed within me. Something's not the same." And I just felt that it was such a simple lyric, and I've heard it millions of times, but something hit different this time. that we were all feeling this sort of rumbling inside of the unknown of what the next step is and who's in control of that. And it was sort of this idea that maybe we all are, and we also have to get ready to tell that story and to start to put in the work. And of course, when you get Wicked, I was just running around the house, like how excited. And so to build that build that relevancy into something that was already prophetic was really exciting.
Why is it you're always causing some sort of commotion?
I don't cause commotions, I am one. Some of us are just different.
And is there some fear and some skepticism in taking on, you know, the pressure obviously associated with this, even though you've been working for so long, as you say, kind of on the global stage? Or were you just raring to go?
It was kind of both. You know, after the pandemic, we're like, let's go make a movie, let's go interact with people, let's go bring people together through movies. But I love the fear. I love the doubts. To me, that revs me up. That makes me say, all right, let's go. I've had to prove myself my whole life. So I feel like that kind of drives me a little bit. And with Wicked, what better way than painting a cinematic illustration of Oz to do something that very few filmmakers have been allowed to do, is to what does Oz look like and feel like? And we actually built the things. We planted 9 million tulips. We built the giant 60-ton train to really immerse the audience. And I think it was actually a huge motivation because people had been sort of thirsty to go back to the movie theater again at the grandest scale, to say, hey, movies can go shoot the moon and in a musical form and be earnest and be all the things that you want in a musical and expressive. So that was really fun to bring this cast together and go shoot the moon.
Yeah, and let's talk about that adaptation process, because I think there's so much more to it than just taking Wicked and putting it on the screen.
Oh, yeah.
It's about making it sing as a film and playing to those strengths.
Yeah.
So talk to me about the process of taking this live few hours that happens in a dark room and making it this theatrical spectacle.
Yeah. It's a lot of work. I mean, on the surface, it feels like, oh, you just could go make Wicked. But actually, I mean, just from the music itself, like the way you treat the music, are we making this more pop? Are we making this more hip hop? Are we going classic? Are we growing the orchestra? Those questions were about tone and about what we wanted to set as the reality of Oz. So part of that was me sitting down with Stephen Schwartz and Winnie Holtzman, the geniuses who created this, and Mark Platt, of course. And we got them together with a writer that I've worked with, Dana Fox, and we went through every line of every script that was ever written about Wicked. And they told me why each line was there, why each lyric was written, what things have been cut out, what things they loved, which things they never really loved. And that was a great experience. I got to be a sponge and absorb that. Once I got that core, I paired that with my sort of patient zero experience of watching Wicked for the first time and being blown away. And to me, those two allowed me to see where the cracks I needed to fill or what areas I wanted the movie to blossom more or these characters to come out more. And then it was about the design, bringing in Nathan Crowley, who's an amazing production designer, Paul Tazwell, who does the costumes, and Alice Brooks, who's the cinematographer, and of course my choreographer, Christopher Scott. You know, we've done musicals before, so to be able to fill this world with a new way of movement, because Oz is not like Earth, so everything has to be a little bit left of center. We just put all the images, all the colors on a wall. We built so many models, miniatures of every set, and you could almost walk through the feeling of Oz throughout. So it just took step by step and a lot of people.
Yeah, it's very magical though when you bring it back to that feeling of watching it as a child.
Absolutely. That's I think the power of movies, is it brings you back to your childhood, childlike brain, that it can spur, provoke imagination and wonder. And this is fun because we play with that form. We get to provoke it, but then we get to re-examine it and say, is it really that? Is the yellow brick road the path you're supposed to be on? Is that even made for you? Are you supposed to go off that path? And are you supposed to feel happy and giggly all the time? Or actually is the road of the uncomfortable the road that you're supposed to take? The fear is actually the place you're supposed to head towards, because that's where you gain courage. That's where you gain your heart. That's where you gain your brain. To me, that was really fun about this. That was unlike any other project.
You can do anything.
You've got got so much to play with on so many levels,
Oh, yeah.
and you have got an incredible cast to do it with. I
come
mean,
on.
Cynthia Erivo, already a legend, an icon,
Yes.
a powerhouse. But then, on the other hand, when we meet Elphaba, she's quite vulnerable. She's not a fully formed character yet. So I'm curious about when you realize or are confident that she's your Elphaba.
When she actually came in, and she came in with a jeans and t-shirt, because I had the same impression of her as you did. I was like, oh, she's gonna come in already set. And Elphaba isn't a fully formed character, but when she came in those jeans and t-shirt, and she sang Wizard and I, and she looked like a little kid. I had never seen her in that way. And what she was singing about, this yearning, was it was this wound, this open wound, and I felt the similar. It almost reminded me of when I was in my dorm room dreaming about being a filmmaker. And I knew if it connected with me, it would connect to so many people. And words that I had heard so many times, the way she said it felt like I was hearing it for the first time. So in a way, I thought it would feel like a discovery of someone we've actually known for all this time.
I'm getting chills remembering the sequence that you're talking about. The
I
Wizard
mean,
and I.
come
It's
on,
gorgeous.
yeah.
And then, of course, we have Ariana Grande as Glinda. This
Yeah.
is the culmination of a sort of lifelong dream for her, this role. And this is a massively competitive role as well. A
Yeah.
lot of actresses had their eyes on this.
Yeah.
How did she win the part of Glinda?
She had to earn it. There was no offer or anything like that. She had to come in and audition, and I was very skeptical at first. I was like, there's no way she's prepared for this. This is a huge movie. It takes a lot of experience to lead a movie. She has, of course, she can sing, but can she get to the vulnerable part of Glinda? Is she funny enough? And the moment she auditioned, she was the most interesting person in that room. But I didn't believe it, so I brought her in again. And she was the most interesting person in the room. I did not believe it. She did the third time. And every time, she proved herself over and over and over again to a place where she was living Glinda. I mean, when she showed up on set, she was Glinda. I didn't have to direct her. It was just like, okay, here's a chair, jump over it, and she would jump over like Glinda. It felt like I was meeting this character that in real life for the first time, and that the show was based off of this real life character. So as soon as that started to happen, it felt very natural. And again, it felt like what an exciting thing to, one of those popular girls in the world, that you were going to see her in a new light for the first time.
Just follow the road. It's gonna lead you right to me.
And these are real vocalists. These are massively
Oh, yeah.
challenging roles vocally for any sort of trained musical theatre actor.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a bit about the kind of rehearsal process? And then I think there was a lot of singing live on set as well.
Yeah, there was a ton of singing live on set. That was the great part of having these actors, is that the vocal part was the easy part, actually. Like, I never had to give a note about, were you on key on that one? And they would, no, never. I never had to worry about that. It was just about why they were singing and where this character was at, and the dialogue and vocals could flow back and forth. And that was also a long process. I mean, making a musical is, you have the dance side, so you have rehearsals, getting your muscle memory up to in shape, but also then we're doing our own scene rehearsals, so we're discovering a new character within this, so that changes the choreography of those things, and then they're recording pre-record so we can use in our rehearsals, which are basically based off of the show, but yet things are changing every day, and so as we're creating the character, then things change in the music, so they had to go re-record that stuff, and so it was, we had a recording studio there, a dance rehearsal space there, and my own office that we would be our own rehearsal, so it was a constant flow of all these departments working together, and we're building this character from the ground up all together. So it was a iterative process, even on set. So by the time we're on set, we have a live pianist. They have an earwig that they can hear the music, because if you have music out loud, they would record that too, and it would be a mess. So we don't, when we're on set, we don't hear any of the music. They hear it so we just hear their voices. And talk about how many people were in tears, grips were in tears, people were like shaking while holding the camera, because it was very emotional when you get to hear the purity of their voice, and when it comes from a character play, it's even more powerful.
Yeah, there's this saying about musicals I really love. I think it's often attributed to Bob Fosse, which is when the emotion is too much for speech, you sing, and then when
Yeah.
it's too much to sing, you dance.
Absolutely.
I really feel that this is a musical that is wearing its musicalness on its sleeve in a way that's wonderful. We've had a little bit of shyness, I think, about marketing a musical as a musical. Do you feel like we're due a bit of a resurgence in Hollywood, with the big musical getting the kind of love that I think it deserves?
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. I mean, I grew up on musicals, watching it on the stage and in movies, and so for me, it's not this separate genre. For me, it's just a part of storytelling in general. Like to me, the music and the dance all work together, and sometimes I think when people come in, if you haven't made a musical, the technical sort of can overtake it. So these musical numbers become separate giant pieces. But actually, it's just as intimate as the dialogue itself. So I hope that this shows that you can, and what the power of music is, you can go really big and you can express it and have no fear of the earnestness of what you're doing. And I think that's where people are at. I think people are need to be able to express what they're feeling, because clearly words aren't doing it justice right now in the world. And so sometimes, yeah, music and dance help connect the dots for us as we watch this in a dark room, and hope that we can be like Elphaba and have that courage to sing and surrender ourselves to our own power. But maybe we're all a little bit Glinda. We're a little bit not ready for that yet, or hope to have that courage and are trying to have that courage. So I love that a musical movie can really express that.
Thank you so much for your time today. I want to tell you I loved the film. I cried 4 times.
Okay.
And I just want to finish up by saying we're bringing audiences into our cinemas for Wicked. Are there any kind of final words that you want them to take into the film to experience Wicked?
I say bring your family, bring your friends, come share it with all your loved ones, even people who don't like musicals. We built it for people who know Wizard of Oz, don't know Wizard of Oz, know Wicked, don't know Wicked, love musicals or don't. I think this is an experience for all people to experience together and just let go and be swept away into a far-off land and meet these 2 women where they're at and fall in love with them. I think that's what movies are all about.
No wizard that there is or was is ever gonna bring me
Thank you for watching Picturehouse Cinema's unique video content. Hit the subscribe button to be kept up to date with our movie news, cast and crew interviews, highlights, trailers, and lots more.